Hi guys! Today we're gonna model a gingerbread house in Blender. We can start immediately with the default cube. Let's select it and go into edit mode by pressing tab. And then we select these four vertices here on the bottom and we scale them just a little like this. This is gonna be our gingerbread house. These are the walls, and with Ctrl R I'm gonna add a new edge loop here in the middle, and I'm gonna scale it just a little like this. I'm gonna scale it on the Z-axis too. Perfect. Now I'm gonna add a sphere, and this is gonna be our hill where the house is placed upon. So I'm gonna scale it very much like this and position it here. Also, I'm gonna press the right mouse button and choose Shades Mode. Okay, let's choose another camera angle because I don't like this one. So let's say that we want to see our gingerbread house from this perspective. You just have to press Ctrl, Alt and 0 and Blender automatically changes the angle of the camera. Now we're gonna see it through the camera like this. Okay, now we can go on and add the roof of our house. So I think I'm gonna create another cube like this, scale it to make it bigger and then scale it on the Z-axis. Okay, and now I'm gonna scale this face here on the top. And I'm also gonna move it down just a little. Like this, it's totally perfect. So as you can see, for now we are just adding some rough meshes, okay, some low poly meshes just to place them around and organize our 3D model, and then we're gonna add more details and materials. Well, I think we are gonna need for sure some candy cane, so I'm gonna create them with a curve. I had a path, I rotated on the x-axis, no sorry, on the y-axis, okay. I scale it. Now we want to add some depth to our curve, so we go here in the object data properties, and in geometry we increase the depth as much as we want. Something like this is okay. And now you can press tab and move the vertices like this. You can also press E to extrude them, like I'm doing now, to create the arc of the candy cane. One here, maybe one here, you can rotate it. Okay. I'm also gonna add another cube for the chimney here. I'm gonna scale it and I'm gonna basically select this face up here, move it up, and then with Ctrl R I'm gonna add an edge loop. And now we can select this face, press I to create another face inside it, and then press E to extrude it like this. And now we can just select this loop of faces and extrude them along the normals to create the border. Perfect. I'm forgetting something. For sure we need a door, so yes, we're gonna add another cube. Scale it on the y-axis because we don't need it too much larger. Okay, let's place it where we need it. Okay, cool. I think I want a rounded door, so I'm gonna press Ctrl R and add an edge loop here, and then I'm gonna I'm gonna add two edge loops. So I press Ctrl R and then I slide with the middle mouse button until I have two edge loops. Now I select these vertices and I bring them up, and I select these vertices here on the side and bring them down. I'm gonna add another one here in the middle and move it up. Okay, now we have our perfect door. And we can also duplicate it and make it just a little less tall and use it as a window from each side of the house, like this. Perfect. Now we can start adding our details. First of all, I'm gonna add an edge loop here. And here, another one down here. One up here, and move the vertices with Shift V. And one here, scaling the vertices on the Z-axis. I created this part. And now I select these faces here and these two here on the bottom. And I press E to extrude them like this. I think I'm gonna select this face of the main part of the house. I'm gonna select this face up here and bring it down like this so it doesn't intersect with the roof. Okay. Now I'm gonna select these edges here and here all around the house. Also these vertical edges and this one on the top of the roof. Okay, now that I've selected all these edges, I activate the bevel by pressing Ctrl B. Here we can open the bevel menu and choose how many segments we want. I think I'm gonna use 3 because I want to see a nice rounded edge. And let's see how this looks like with the subdivision modifier enabled. Okay, it looks very cool. As you can see, I just added here a new edge loop. I'm gonna remove it and let you see how I did it. I press Ctrl R and I bring this edge loop down like this. Now we have a clean geometry. Okay, now let's do the same with our house down here. I select the subdivision surface modifier with 2 levels. I choose shades mode, and now I'm gonna add with Ctrl R more edge loops like this on each side and also on the top and on the bottom to keep the shape of my house. Okay, now let's add another small window up here. You know what? Maybe I'm gonna do it circular this time. So I create a circle, I go in edit mode, I press F to create a face inside these vertices, and then I press I to insert some loops like this. I'm also select everything with A and press E to extrude. No, I extruded, but it was not straight, so let's do it again. Okay. And now let's place it where I want it, here in this hole in the roof that we created. Okay. I'm gonna extrude this face, but first I'm gonna choose here transform orientation normal, so I can extrude along the normal. And now I press E and move it like this. I move this edge loop here forward just a little. Let's add another face here. Okay, you can leave it like this, or you can press Ctrl 1 to add another subdivision surface modifier. I place the cursor here because I want to create something here in this point, and this something is actually another cube. I'm gonna scale it because I want 2 bars, one here and one like this. So I scale it on the z-axis, and then I rotate it on the x-axis like this and move it. Perfect. Let's add some details to the door and the windows too. So for the window, I select these faces here. I think I'm gonna move these vertices again because I want it to be rounded, really rounded, so yeah. Let's try like this. I select these 4 faces and I press I and then E. I duplicate these two bars with Shift D and I place them here. Okay, let's see what happens to my window if I add a subdivision surface modifier. Okay, I like it, but we need some more edge loops to have a more defined shape. One here, one down here. Okay. Now we can delete this window here and copy the one on the right and move it. So I select everything, I press Shift D and I move it to the other side like this. Cool. Now the door. Actually, for the door, I don't think I'm gonna do something really special. You know what? I'm gonna use the knife tool, so I press K and I add some small I'm gonna add some small cracks in the door. So I select this face that I created and I press E to extrude it and I move it like this. And then I create another one maybe here. Different shapes. Press E to extrude. Okay. Last thing to do, add some details to the chimneys. So I press Ctrl 1 to activate the subdivision surface modifier. As you can see, we totally lost the squared shape. So as always, we start adding more edge loops. Okay. Another one down here. And we're done. Very cool. Okay, now I create another cube, another pot, and I place it here on the edge of the house. And in edit mode, I move the vertices until they matches here the edges of our house, also from the side view like this. I think it's cool. Now let's add the depth. Okay, now basically we're gonna add a shader to this cylinder here, and it's gonna look like if it's made of candy cane, and it's gonna be a nice effect. So let's do it for all the edges of the house. In case you want to know how to mirror a curve, you can just press S, X, and -1. So I do it again, S, X, -1. Or you can just go here like this. I want to add a candy cane border to my door too. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select this edge loop here, so these edges like this, and we're gonna transform them into a cube. So first of all, we duplicate them. We press Shift D and we duplicate them, and then with the edges selected, we press P and we choose to separate them. Okay, now if we exit edit mode, we can see that we still have our door, but we also have this edge loop. And if we go here in object convert, we can choose to convert it into a curve. And now, as you can see, we can add a depth to it. It looks weird, but I think that if we choose Ctrl R and we apply all transforms, okay, it fixes. I'm gonna increase the depth very much and choose Shade Smooth. With the same method that I used to create the candy cane decoration on the door, I created another one here for this window. And now the next thing that I want to do is create a nice chocolate path here that leads to the door. So I position my cursor here and I create another cube. I scale it on the Z-axis. This is gonna be a chocolate cube, so I select the top face, I activate the inset by pressing I, like this, and then I extrude the face by pressing E. Okay, now I'm gonna scale this face like this. I think I'm gonna scale this edge here also. And now I add 2 edge loops on this border and I bring them up like this. And now we give it a subdivision surface, and we also add, we also choose Shade Smooth, and as always we add 4 more edge loops with Ctrl R. Very nice. Our chocolate cube is ready and we can just place it here on the heel and duplicate it with Shift V to create a path. Okay, now we can add the snow, which is very important to our 3D scene. First of all, we're gonna do the snow on the roof, and to do it, I add an edge loop here, like this, and I'm gonna scale it on the Z-axis to flatten it. Okay, and now basically we're gonna extrude part of the roof. So I select all these faces and I duplicate it with Shift D and oh no, oh yes, okay, it's correct. Now that we have duplicated it, I press P to separate it. And as always, now we have our mesh separated. And now we can give it a solidify modifier. Let's move it to first. We can scale it just a little. Okay, if we activate this option, we can see better what we are doing. And now it's just a matter basically of moving randomly all these vertices and edges until they look like some snow that it's, dripping on the roof. And you can also add some vertices if you need it and extrude them, of course, like this. Okay, now we do the same thing for our heel too. So I add just a few more edges like this, and then I select everything and I duplicate it, separate it, and I add my subdivision and my solidify. Okay, I added the snow on the heel too, and now we can start creating some small decoration. Like, for example, we're gonna add some spheres on the top of the roof that will become some, some sweet candy. One here, another big one here on the four angles, and then maybe we can use an array to add many more in between. So we go here and we choose array. We can choose the space that we want between them. Okay, the last thing that I want to do to decorate the roof is add some typical white cream decorations. So I select this edge loop all around the roof like this. I duplicate it and separate it. And I convert it into a mesh, into a curve. I add the depth and it's stretched as you see before, so we can just press Ctrl A and choose to apply all transforms. We can also press with the right mouse button and choose Shade Smooth. And that's it. Now we just have to select every vertex and move it around like this, but we don't want this, too angular movement, so we can add a subdivision surface and see how it looks like. Yes, way better. I don't need all these vertices here, so I just press X and delete vertices. Every time you see that you have too many vertices in a point where you don't need them, you can just delete them. I like it like this because it looks really handmade, and I think I'm gonna go on with this effect because I like it very much. Okay guys, this is the final look of our gingerbread house. I really love these materials that I created, and now I'm gonna show you in detail how I did all the lightnings and the materials. And also you can see that I added some small additional decoration like some snow here on the window, and yeah, also this chocolate piece here on the roof, but basically everything is as you've seen it before. Yeah, first of all, before I show you the lighting and the materials, I'm gonna create a lamp that I'm gonna put here and here on these candy canes. So I press Shift A and I add a cube. Okay. I scale it because I need it to be really small. And then I assign it a subdivision surface modifier and I apply it. Okay, now we can just bring these vertices here up, scale them on the z-axis like this. Okay. And now we are gonna use Ctrl R to add an edge loop here. And with the edge loop selected, we press SZ0 to flatten it, but you see that it messed up everything because we still have proportional editing enabled. So I press Ctrl Z, and now that I disabled the proportional editing, I can press SZ and 0. Okay. Now I can select these faces here and here and extrude them. So I go here in face, extrude faces along normals. Very good. Okay. Now I select all these edges here and we press Ctrl B to give them a slight bevel. To give them a bevel, okay, and we press extrude faces along normals again. Cool. Now we have our super simple lamp, and we can just assign some materials to it. So for example, I think I'm gonna select these faces here inside, hold these faces, and I assign an emission shader. So once you have created a new material, you go here and you choose emission. I'm gonna go for a yellow color, very warm, and strength, I think 15 is probably okay. Yeah, you can even increase it a little if you want. You can just press Ctrl I to invert the selection. And now that you have all the other faces selected, you can create another material And this time we're gonna make a black material, and maybe even with the metallic. You don't see very much, of course, because the light illuminates everything, but I think that it works pretty good. Okay, now we just have to select this vertex here and press Ctrl B again. Nothing happens, as you can see, but you just have to open this menu and choose Affect Vertices. Okay, now it created this face here, and you can just extrude it by pressing E. And now we have something that connects our lamp to the candy cane. And now I just duplicate it with Shift D and bring it here. Okay, now that the final touch is completed, I can show you the lighting. So let's see all the lights that I used. First of all, let's have a look to the word properties. Okay, 2 points of strength and this color code. For the lightning, I used a sun up here with a white color and 3 points of strength and 15 degrees of angle. Always remember to enable contact shadows because it's really important. Then I used, as always, 3 area lights. One here to illuminate the left side of the house, still white. This power and this size, and always contact shadows enabled. Another one from the side that gives this warm, feeling to all the scene. And I used this color code, sorry. Okay. This power, and these are the other parameters. And then for the rim light, I used another area light here behind, very strong, as you can see. And these are her parameters. And then I just added a few other lights. One point light here to give this point of lights to the roof up here. Very subtle. And these are the parameters. And then another small point light here because I wanted this cute shining effect on this candy. Okay, now let's go and speak about the materials. Let's start with the background. The background is a simple plane, okay? And what I did was just giving it an emission material. Now I go into the shading viewport and I'm gonna show you the material that I used. Okay, we have an emission material, but I created a color ramp and I connected it to the color of the emission, and these are my color codes. This beautiful light blue and this warm pink. Okay, but I added 3 more nodes to be able to manage the color ramp and give it the direction that I needed. So I added a gradient texture and a mapping and a texture coordinate node. In case you don't know how to add new nodes to your material, you just have to press Shift A, and here in search you can type whatever you want. For example, a gradient texture. Okay, now let's see the other materials. I think one of the most interesting is the candy cane material. This is the material of the candy canes. Okay, I think it's very interesting to see how I created these striped effects. So I used the simple principle BSDF node with these parameters, and then to create the stripes I added, as always, the texture coordinate and the mapping node to move the stripes however I want. And then I used a wave texture to create the stripes. As you can see, this is the wave texture. But the difference between black and white is not really sharp. So I used this node, this matte node, to make them really, really sharp. As you can see, if I delete it, we have this blurred effect. But if I add with Shift A another node, I add a matte node, and here in this menu I choose greater than. Now I can place it here, and immediately we have this perfect division between white and red, and you can choose even the dimension of your stripes. Okay, and then of course I used a mix RGB. As you can see here, you can choose a mix RGB node. Okay, I used this map as vector for this node, and then I assigned these two colors, and that's it. Now for the windows, I decided to give them an emission color, so the inside of the house is very illuminated. And for the actual window, I used this material that I call chocolate, okay, which is a simple Principle BSDF shader with these parameters. Now let's see how I did the snow. Again, a super simple Principle BSDF, but in this case we have a very high value of subsurface that gives this particular effect. The chocolate material, still very, very simple. And the last thing to see is the material that I used for the walls of my house. Okay, this is the material of the walls of the house. As you can see, we have so many levels of color, and I created them with all these nodes because I wanted a procedural texture. So I'm gonna delete everything and I'm gonna recreate this material with you. So first of all, I'm gonna add a noise texture. So Shift A, search noise texture. I already increased the scale and even the roughness. Okay. And now I create another texture, and it's gonna be a mass grave texture. So in case you don't know, you can see the actual effect of every node that you create by simply pressing Shift, Ctrl and left mouse button on your node. But this option is only available in case you have enabled the Node Wrangler add-on in your preferences. So in case you don't have it enabled, go in your preferences and enable Node Wrangler. So these are the two textures that I'm gonna mix, but to mix them I'm gonna use a mix RGB. I'm gonna create another mix RGB. You can just duplicate this node with Shift D, okay? And first of all, I am gonna connect this mass grave texture with the vector here, and I'm gonna choose two colors, something like this warm yellow and something more orange like. Okay, let's see what I'm doing. Okay, now we have this color variation, very lovely. This is the Musgrave texture, and in the black part we have the yellow, and in the white part we have the orange now. Now let's mix this with the other mix RGB, and we're gonna choose another color here, something like yellow. Okay. And we are gonna use this noise texture as a factor. But first we're gonna add a color ramp. Okay, so let's connect the noise texture to the color ramp and the color ramp to the mix RGB node. So basically this is the noise texture, but we want it to be sharper, so we use the color ramp. If you move these handles, the texture becomes more and more sharp. And you can also see it here. Okay, and now the last thing to add is we want to add some few other nodes because I want a gradient. Okay, I want this upper part of the house to be darker and with a darker brown. So I create another mix shader, another mix RGB node. Okay, and I connect this one here with this first slot. Okay. The second color will be the dark brown that I just explained to you. So let's choose something like this. Okay. And we are gonna create a color ramp because we are gonna need this part here to be brown and the other not. So I create a color ramp. I assign it here. Okay. Now I'm gonna create a gradient texture, and as always a mapping node and the texture coordinate node to move our color ramp as we need. Okay, as you can see, we actually have a gradient now, but it doesn't have the direction that we want. Because as you can see, we need it to go in this direction and not in this direction. But it's very easy. We can just, first of all, change this interpolation to B-spline because we want it to be softer. Okay, and also here we are gonna change this rotation to 19 degrees. Okay, let's see the effect. Okay, it worked. As you can see, this part here is darker. Now we can just move our color ramp, our gradient, on the x-axis, and that's it. Okay guys, this is it. Let's see our final house rendered. I think it's super magical and I really love it. You can also choose to give it a darker background, make it in, like it's night and everything is more magical. But in any case, this is the end of the tutorial. So please guys, in case you enjoyed it, like it and subscribe to my channel because it really helps me to go on with this project. And in case you recreate this gingerbread house, please tag me because I love to see your artwork and to share it on my pages. If you have any suggestions for new tutorials or if you have any questions, you can ask me in the comments section. And yeah, we're gonna see each other again in the next tutorial. Bye!